Unbelievable journey, single mom and baby vanished 1 year later, touching truths are revealed. The town of Maplewood buzzed with chatter, its close-knit residents unable to comprehend the heartbreaking mystery. What happened to Sarah, the local waitress, and her precious baby, Liam? With every passing day of their disappearance, whispers twisted the tale into something darker, tainting her memory like the burnt remnants of forgotten pastries in the cafe. Friends who once cheered her on at volleyball games turned their backs, leaving only shadows of the life she'd known behind as the scent of baked goods and fresh coffee lingered in the air. As weeks stretched into months, the townsfolk's worry morphed into harsh judgment, painting her as a woman who abandoned everything she once valued. "I heard she ran off with some guy, maybe she never wanted to be a mother at all." Each comment struck harder than the last, echoing in the emptiness of Sarah's absence. But Sarah wasn't gone, she was somewhere else entirely. The crisp hints of autumn whispered through the trees when a mysterious stranger arrived in Maplewood, shattering the narrative woven by fear and suspicion. "I have news about Sarah," he announced, his voice steady like autumn leaves falling one by one. The room fell silent. Neighbors leaned in. The stranger revealed that Sarah had been fighting to reclaim her life, shielding herself and Liam from an abuser in neighboring Springfield. With newfound courage, Sarah stepped up to the podium in the town hall, the same place where frantic searches had rallied the community just a year ago. She felt the weight of every stare. Some were curious, others desperate for a resolution. She took a deep breath, trembling yet resolute, her heart drumming against her chest like a percussive reminder of the love for her son. "Liam and I, we hid away to keep safe. It was survival," she began, her voice shaky but filled with conviction. The tight grips of fear had landed her there, yet all she could see were faces she once held close. The nights of terror flickered in her mind, vivid and raw, the shadows of sleepless fears, of clutching her child tightly and praying for dawn. "I fought for us, I made painful choices," she confessed, tears pooling in her eyes as she bore all of her pain to people who once celebrated her. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Mixed emotions engulfed them, from the depth of compassion to the sting of betrayal. With each word, walls began to soften, but they remained. Did they dare believe her? A longtime friend stood up, rage and confusion written across her face. "We were looking for you, Sarah. How could you stay hidden?" The room lit up, voices sparked into debate over trust, motherhood, and the very essence of community. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." With her heart gasping for understanding, tension swirled in the room like leaves caught in a gust. The former friends who knew her kindness were now flecked with doubt and misgivings. As Sarah fought for her place back in the world, a relentless question loomed over all: could they forgive the shadow of her secrets, or would the distance between them stretch on forever, separating her from the community that never truly understood? And with that, she realized her quest for redemption had only just begun, teetering on the fragile line of acceptance and something far worse. Sarah's voice trembled, barely rising above the quiet murmurs that bounced around the room. The community she once thrived in now felt like a distant planet. She wasn't just fighting to reclaim her life, she was battling for the hearts of those who had made her feel welcomed. Her story spilled out like a spilled cup of coffee, messy and uncontainable. As the townsfolk voiced their anger and confusion, it became clear that her confession had cracked open something deep within them. There were moments of silence, punctuated by the soft sounds of disbelief. "We thought you were gone," someone whispered, a hint of pain lacing their words. Tears slipped down Sarah's cheeks as she searched for words that could stitch together the frayed bonds of trust. "I was scared for Liam." Her heart raced, hoping to convey the truth that had trapped her in shadows for so long, the love she held overpowering the fear. She watched familiar faces harden, emotions swirling like a stormy cloud. A mother in the front row, arms crossed defensively, looked down, unable to meet her eyes. Why would you choose to hide? That question cut sharper than the others, laced with betrayal. It was a question Sarah had asked herself countless times. She felt cornered again, much like those frenzied nights where escape felt like the only option. I didn't choose to hide, I chose to protect. Her voice grew stronger with each word, fueled by the fire of determination overwhelming her heart. She spoke of the late nights, the whispered fears, and the devouring loneliness that clutched her with icy fingers. A soft gasp rippled through the room, igniting the flickering embers of compassion buried beneath doubt. Could they understand? Did they want to understand? One of her former volleyball teammates, Amanda, finally broke free from the crowd and stepped forward. Her eyes, typically bright with laughter, were now clouded with hurt. We could have helped you, Sarah. We could have been there for you. I know I should have trusted you. But trust was a luxury I couldn't afford, Sarah whispered, each word weighed down by regret. A heavy silence hung as the townsfolk processed her words. Some shifted uncomfortably, while others let their anger settle like dust. The walls that confined her felt less suffocating, but the truth was a double-edged sword. It could set her free or pierce her heart further. Finally, someone in the back shouted, "But what now, Sarah? We want to help, but how can we? You left us in the dark." I don't know," she admitted, her voice cracking. "I'm here now, and I want to start fresh. Not just for me, but for Liam. I can't change the past, but I can fight for our future together." The crowd murmured as if wrestling internally. Acceptance was beautifully complex, and she understood this was just the first step. Still, doubt hung thick in the room, a lingering shadow. Then, clutching her heart, Sarah saw a familiar face glistening with tears, not of anger, but of understanding. It was Karen, her childhood friend. As their eyes connected, something indescribable passed between them, resilience, a promise that, perhaps, she wasn't entirely alone. "Sarah, I still care about you. Just give us time," Karen finally said, a tentative smile breaking through the storm. Sarah nodded, hope flickering in her chest. Yet as she embraced this fragile bond, the door creaked open behind her, and a figure stepped through unexpected and startling just as the seeds of hope began to take root. The room gasped collectively, every heart pounding at the sight. Was it a savior or another specter of her past? "Mom?" The voice shattered the moment, echoing with fear and innocence. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as recognition washed over her. Could the past come barreling back just when healing seemed within reach? Time seemed to stretch, each second unfolding like a fragile flower in slow motion. The shock rooted Sarah to the spot. A familiar face now bore the weight of time and grief. Her heart raced as if trying to outrun memories she thought were buried deep. Could this really be happening? "Mom?" The child's voice was small and trembling, akin to a wisp of fog hanging in the air. The little boy who had once been a part of her life stood there, eyes wide with confusion and a dash of yearning. Sarah felt her heart break and mend all at once. "Liam." Her voice broke as she stepped forward, desperation clawing at her chest. But it wasn't just her son that was standing there. There was a woman beside him, eyes filled with both protectiveness and suspicion. Sarah's mind raced. Was this a new layer of complexity? A specter of judgment? "Get back, Liam," the woman warned, creating a barrier between Sarah and her son. The tension spiked, swirling in the air like a fierce wind. "Who are you?" Sarah demanded, her voice shaking yet firm. She had fought too hard for this moment to let it slip away now. "I'm Rebecca. His guardian." The word reverberated through the room. Guardian. It hung heavily, filled with silent implications. Suddenly, the previous emotions hope, regret, even love were drowned beneath an unrelenting tide of fear. Guardian? Sarah echoed, her breath hitching. She searched Rebecca's eyes for answers, for a glimpse of her son's love, but all she found was the chill of uncertainty. Why is Liam with you? Where were you when I was doing what you couldn't? Rebecca interrupted, crossing her arms. You abandoned him when he needed you most. I stepped in. The harshness of her voice created a fissure in the air. No. Sarah fought to control the rising panic. I didn't abandon him. I was scared. I thought what? Rebecca shot back, her eyes narrowing. That your son would be safer without you? Does that really make sense? The townsfolk stood frozen, caught between the past and this raw new reality. A wave of shame washed over Sarah. They had finally begun to see her, and now this? Please, Sarah murmured, desperate now. I'm here. I want to be a part of his life again. Liam's eyes flickered between the two women, the confusion only worsening. Mom? He whispered, taking a tiny step forward. Sweetheart, it's okay, Sarah urged, reaching out for him, her hand trembling. Sarah Karen's voice cut through, filled with concern. What's happening? Is this your mom? Liam's mom? Not like that, Rebecca interjected sharply, glaring at Karen. She's not that mom. You can't just walk back in after a year and think it's that easy. It's not fair. The townsfolk murmured, the sound weaving through Sarah's heart like a dark cloud. She sensed the collective judgment. I know it's not easy. I know I made mistakes. But can't we try? Liam turned his tear-filled eyes to Sarah. Can I go with you? His innocent question sent a jolt through her soul. Rebecca took a step closer, a protective wall forming again. Liam, you can't just decide that, but I want to. He insisted, his voice rising with fervor. I miss her. I love her. In that moment, everything shifted. The anger, the resentment, it was all fleeting as hope ignited like a beacon in her chest. Just then, Sarah's resolve strengthened. I will fight for him. I will do whatever it takes. She looked around at the townsfolk. You all have the right to be angry. You have the right to doubt. But I am here now, and I'm asking for your help. For Liam. The room stood still, contemplating the weight of her plea. Was there a way forward from here? Or were they still too lost in the shadows of the past? As the townsfolk began to exchange nervous glances, Sarah felt something shift in the air. There was still a chance. Just then, the door swung open again with a loud creak, and another figure stepped in grinning, oblivious to the storm unfolding. What's all this fuss about? Every head turned, hearts skipping a beat. Who was this new arrival, and what would they bring to an already chaotic scene? As the door swung wide, the familiar voice broke the heavy atmosphere like a thunderclap. Sarah squinted at the figure stepping into the room, blinking as if trying to shake off a dream. The new arrival, tall and confident, wore a bright red jacket that seemed too vibrant against the dull backdrop of the town hall's muted colors. Matthew? Sarah's voice barely rose above a whisper, confusion mixing with disbelief. She hadn't seen him in months, not since everything fell apart. His presence felt like a spark in a darkening sky. Hey, sorry I'm late. I just got back into town, and he froze mid-sentence. His eyes darted to Liam, then to Rebecca, a curious blend of surprise and concern washing over his face. What's happening? Is everything okay? I think everything just got a lot more complicated, Rebecca replied, her words laced with a subtle edge. Matthew approached slowly, his brow furrowing as he took in the tense scene. Sarah, I saw you were back, and I thought he let the sentence dangle, unsure how to connect what he felt to the reality before him. I thought you'd want to. I'm trying to be here for Liam, Sarah interrupted, hope mixing with desperation in her voice. But it's not that simple. Rebecca's been taking care of him. Matthew's expression turned serious as he glanced at Liam, who still stood torn between his mother and his guardian. The little boy clenched his fists at his sides, confusion clearly evident on his small face. "I can't believe you're back," Matthew whispered, his voice full of mixed emotions. "But what are you going to do?" "I don't know." Sarah shot back, frustration mounting. "All I know is I'm not losing him again. Not now that I finally found the strength to return." Liam took another tentative step closer to Sarah, peering up at her with wide, uncertain eyes. "Mom?" The way he said it struck Sarah like a soft blow. She wanted to reach down, to pull him back into her embrace, but Rebecca's presence felt like a wall she couldn't breach. Matthew turned to Rebecca, seeking clarity in the chaos. "And you? What's your role in all this?" "I'm his guardian," Rebecca reiterated, a subtle defiance in her tone. "I've been here for Liam when Sarah chose to step away." "Chose?" Matthew echoed incredulously. "That's not how it went down, Rebecca. You know that." The tension surged, each word adding more weight to the air. The townsfolk, who had been silently observing, began to murmur again, their whispered judgments creating a chorus of doubt. Sarah felt her chest tighten. "Why does it feel like everyone in this room thinks I don't belong?" Liam's face twisted slightly, confusion turning to fear. He reached out for Sarah, his small hand trembling. "I just want to go home." A wave of emotion washed over Sarah. "Matthew, I need your help. I've missed so much time. I can't let him think I don't love him." The words hung between them, a tangible thread of hope woven through their shared pain. Matthew's eyes softened as he watched the two of them. "I know you, Sarah. You don't give up easily. We'll figure this out." Suddenly, a loud cough broke through the moment, drawing everyone's attention. An older man stepped forward, his face lined with years of experience and wisdom. "What does it mean to be home, really? It's not just a place. It's about being together, through thick and thin. Are you ready for that?" Everyone fell silent. Sarah met Liam's gaze, his innocent eyes filled with expectation and patience. As emotions swirled, Sarah knew they were at a crossroads. The way forward could mean hope or heartbreak. What choice would they make together, and could she truly reclaim her role as Liam's mother in a world where nothing was ever that simple? The air felt electric. Sarah could feel every heartbeat reverberating in her chest as she locked eyes with Liam. The uncertainty swirling around them was thick, almost suffocating. She wished she could just reach out and hold him, to reassure him that he really wasn't alone. "Are you ready to be my mom again?" Liam's soft voice broke through the tension, and Sarah's heart cracked wide open. His innocence was a balm and a burden all at once. I want to be," she managed, biting back the surge of tears. "But we have to figure out how first." Matthew stepped closer, his presence felt like a lifeline in this storm. "Sarah, if you're serious about this, we'll need a plan," he said. "It won't happen overnight." Rebecca shifted, her eyes narrowing slightly. "A plan? What exactly do you think he needs? Routine? Stability?" "That's what I've given him." "It's more than that," Matthew argued softly. "It's about being a family. And Sarah's trying to come back home to him. We need to support that. Together." The murmurs among the crowd grew louder, each whisper a reminder of the scrutiny that surrounded them. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, wishing she could block out every judgmental stare. But then she remembered who was at stake here. It wasn't about the townsfolk, it was about Liam. Suddenly, the older man who had spoken earlier moved back into view, his steady voice capturing everyone's attention once more. "What happens next depends on the choices you make right here, right now." Slowly, he turned to Sarah, holding her gaze with fierce intensity. To be home, you must show him you can be reliable. You have to prove it to him, and to yourself. Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of those words settle into her bones. I will, she whispered, her determination swelling. I just need a chance. Liam's small hand found hers, and she felt a flicker of hope igniting inside her. Do you promise? He asked, his wide eyes searching hers for reassurance. I promise, she vowed, her voice steadier now. The taste of fear began to fade, replaced by the sweet essence of resolve. Rebecca crossed her arms, clearly skeptical, but she remained silent. The shadows of doubt still hung in her expression, and Sarah knew it would take time to earn her trust too. Yet, something in Sarah's heart told her that they could find a way to share this responsibility if Rebecca would let her. Matthew spoke up again, drawing everyone's focus back. I think we should arrange regular visits, maybe some sort of mediation. Something to help you both ease into this new reality. The room buzzed with a mix of opinions and nods, but Sarah barely heard them. Her mind whirled with possibilities. Could she really do this? Could she re-establish herself in Liam's life? Right at that moment, she reached down to press her palm against Liam's cheek. We'll start fresh, just you and me, she said softly. I'll show you how much I love you. We'll figure this out together. The moment felt like a fragile promise against the chaos surrounding them. But as Sarah gazed into Liam's trusting eyes, she realized they were both standing on the edge of something monumental. Just then, a loud crash broke the heavy atmosphere, and everyone gasped, turning toward the noise. Sarah's heart raced. Had the confrontation just escalated into something even messier? She fought to keep her focus on Liam as she wondered what else could go wrong in a situation that was already spiraling. Would they ever truly be able to find a way back to each other? Lost in these thoughts, Sarah gripped the reality tightly, every moment counted now. Sarah's heart thudded as she turned toward the source of the crash. It sounded like a chair toppling over, the sound sharp against the heavy silence that had fallen upon the room. Liam's small hand slipped away as he turned his head, leaving Sarah momentarily exposed. Matthew quickly stepped forward, his protective instincts kicking in. Everyone, please, let's keep calm. We can handle this. But chaos had already seeped into the cracks of their gathering. A few people had risen from their seats, eyes wide with concern, while whispers flared into frantic debates. Sarah felt more like a child in a whirlwind than a mother attempting to reclaim her place. Liam looked panic-stricken, and in that moment, Sarah's resolve was tested. She knelt in front of him and squeezed his shoulders gently. Hey, look at me. We're okay. I promise. She tried to sound confident, but inside, she was fighting the tide of fear pulling at her heart. Seeing fear in his eyes was unbearable. What was that? Is everything okay? He stammered, glancing around nervously. It's probably just an accident. People get clumsy sometimes, Sarah assured, forcing a smile that felt brittle. She wanted so badly for him to believe her. As the crowd finally settled, it was clear they were all on edge. Rebecca, still arms crossed, narrowed her eyes at Sarah. You see? The instability he's living through. How can you bring comfort when you can't even stabilize your own situation? The words hit Sarah hard. They wrapped around her throat, making breathing feel labored. I can understand why you're worried, she managed. I get it. I haven't been there, and I can't change the past. But I can be here now. Matthew moved closer to Rebecca, attempting to bridge the divide. We won't fix everything today. But we have to give her the chance to try. Sarah took a deep breath and looked directly at Rebecca. I respect what you've done for Liam. But I need you to let me prove that I can be the mom he deserves. For a brief moment, the tension hung between them, almost palpable. Rebecca's expression softened, just slightly. It won't be easy, she finally said, her voice a quiet warning. I know, Sarah replied, her heart pounding. But growth never is. At that moment, it felt like something shifted in the room. A collective breath, a potential opening. Maybe it would work. As hard as it seemed, Sarah had to believe it was possible. Liam tugged at her arm, his gaze steady. Can we go out for ice cream afterward? She chuckled softly, nodding, letting the innocence of a child's request wrap around her fragile spirit like a warm embrace. Yes, I'd love that. Suddenly, Matthew exclaimed, speaking of ice cream, how about a working session right here to map out our plan while we have the energy? Laughter broke out in the room, easing the tension, and Sarah felt the first flickers of hope dance within her. But just as they began to reconvene, a figure appeared in the doorway. Sarah squinted, her heart rate spiking again. It was someone from her past, someone she thought she'd left behind. She swallowed hard. Why were they here, now? What did this mean for her and Liam's fragile rebuilding? The air thickened again with uncertainty. That voice from her past bubbled with chaos, threatening to drown out the hope she had just started to cling to. Sarah! They called out, and everything in her rushed forward, equal parts recognition and dread. Sarah's breath hitched. The room spun around her, as if her own memories were colliding with the present. Standing in the doorway was Jenna, her old friend turned enemy, the shadows of their past lingering like storm clouds. 1,000 questions flooded Sarah's mind. What did she want? Why now? Sarah, can we talk? Jenna's voice cut through the murmur of the gathering, urgent yet tinged with something softer, perhaps regret. Liam, still at Sarah's side, tilted his head, sensing her tension. Mom, who is that? He whispered. Before she could answer, Rebecca interjected, her tone sharp. This isn't the time, Jenna. We're in the middle of a meeting. Matthew stepped slightly forward, placing weight on his front foot, ready to defend Sarah. Let us take a breather. This is about Liam. Jenna's eyes darted from Rebecca to Matthew, then back to Sarah, searching for a chink in her armor. But it's about Liam too, she insisted, stepping further into the room. We can't just ignore the past. Sarah felt all the eyes in the room turning toward her, weaving a net of expectation and scrutiny that made her cheeks burn. How could she explain years of hurt and misunderstanding in this moment? Instead, she turned to Liam, kneeling down to meet his curious gaze. Remember how we talked about how we all have stories? She asked softly. Liam nodded, his eyes wide with trust, and for a fleeting moment, it felt like they were in their own world. Well, Jenna has a piece of my story, and your story? Or my story? Jenna interrupted fiercely, arms crossing defensively. What gives you the right to rewrite it? Sarah took in a sharp breath. I never meant to erase you, Jenna. Life has changed for me, for both of us. With a subtle nod, Matthew tried to steer the conversation back. Maybe if we all shared our perspectives. Stop. Jenna raised her voice enough to snap heads around the room. You don't get to play diplomat here. This is personal. Uncertainty loomed in the air, suffocating the flickers of hope that had started to ignite. Sarah's heart raced. She felt the weight of every wrong decision, every painful thought of the past bubbling to the surface. Why are you really here? She finally pressed, forcing herself to be brave despite the tremor in her voice. Jenna hesitated, her facade faltering for just a moment. Because I cared, Sarah. I wanted to come back and explain to help you see that I wasn't the enemy. Liam fidgeted beside Sarah, sensing the tension thickening. For him, this was more than a confrontation, it was a window into a world he didn't fully understand. Is she in trouble, Mom? He asked, his innocent voice cutting through the heaviness, making Sarah's heart ache. I'm not in trouble, Liam. I'm just here to talk, Jenna replied, her tone almost remorseful. Sarah wrestled with her own feelings of betrayal and nostalgia. Could she really allow this person back into her life? Was it safe for Liam? There was so much to consider, so much at stake. Just give me a chance to explain, Jenna pleaded, her voice dropping to a whisper, revealing a vulnerability that struck deep within Sarah. The room buzzed with option, yet the weight of silence pressed down on them all. Could she trust Jenna again? Could anything good come from reopening old wounds? The thought scared Sarah, yet deep down, something whispered of possibility. Taking a deep breath, she steadied herself. All right, but only if Liam is okay with it, she conceded, feeling the grip of uncertainty tighten. Liam's eyes darted between the two women. Can we get ice cream after? He asked with naive excitement, oblivious to the storm brewing around him. Jenna chuckled gently, an unexpected lightness amidst the tension. Ice cream sounds nice, she agreed, meeting Sarah's gaze with a mixture of hope and caution. But Sarah's heart thudded as she felt the ground shift beneath her. One choice now held the potential to alter everything. Could rekindling this connection also respark the pain? Or could it lead them to a future none of them could foresee? As she looked at Liam, his innocence pure and bright in the dim light, Sarah felt the uncertainty collide with a flicker of determination. A moment boiled down to a question: were they ready to wade through the past for a chance at a better future? Let us see where this goes, then she whispered, wondering what lay ahead. Little did she know what fresh chaos would unravel just beyond the conversation they were about to embark on. The air in the room felt electric as Sarah's heart drummed a rapid beat against her chest. Various scenarios swirled in her mind, each more daunting than the last. She looked at Jenna, who stood just a few feet away, a mixture of hope and anxiety flickering across her face. Jenna's presence was a nightly storm made of old memories, regrets, and a longing to confront the past. Okay, Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. Let us talk. Despite her reluctance, she felt a part of her yearning to understand this woman who had shared so much of her life and yet had driven a horrendous wedge between them. Jenna stepped forward, her voice breaking slightly. I know it's been years, but I've thought about you. About everything we lost. Did you think about it when you buried me in gossip? When you turned everyone against me? Sarah felt the heat of anger rush through her, mixing with a dose of fear, an emotion brewing from once familiar wounds. A murmur of discontent rippled through the audience. Whatever meeting had been happening just moments before was a distant memory now. Everyone seemed interested in how this would unfold, peering from the edges. Matthew stood ready, as if waiting for a signal, and Rebecca's expression was carved from stone. I was young, Sarah. It was easier to believe the lies than to confront the truth, Jenna replied, the thin veil of defense cracking. But I grew up. It took me years to understand my part in that, the chaos I helped create. Sarah blinked, her vision blurring momentarily. Was this a genuine apology? It felt like a foreign concept, something she'd dreamed about for years but hadn't thought she'd ever see. The knot in her stomach twisted tighter as she rearranged her emotions. Why now? She asked, keeping her tone steady despite the shaking within. After everything, why come back? Because I need to fix this, Jenna said, fidgeting with her fingers. I've been terrified to reach out, but it's not just about us anymore. I care about Liam, too. I want him to understand who I am, what I've done. I don't want to be the shadow of your past. Liam looked up at Sarah, his small face scrunching in confusion. Mom? It's all right, sweetheart, Sarah managed to say, looking back at Jenna. But what do you think you can fix now, Jenna? Can we really just sweep everything that happened under the rug? No. It won't work like that, Jenna shook her head vigorously. I'm not asking for that. I want to talk about it. To finally be real. You deserve that much. Silence fell over the room, wrapping its cold fingers around their hearts. Rebecca could only shake her head slightly, warning Sarah to consider the repercussions. Matthew, sensing the climax of the moment, stepped in gently. Sarah, it's your choice, but consider how opening this wound could affect Liam and all of us." Sarah felt the weight of her son's small hand slip into hers. She pulled him close, hearing the loud thud of her own heart while grappling with conflicting emotions. It felt so heavy, yet the tender weight of Liam's innocence struck like a longing flame. "Can I think about it?" Sarah ventured, her voice wavering. The thought of stepping back into a possible friendship felt surreal, like standing at the edge of a cliff. "Of course," Jenna whispered, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I just want a chance." As Sarah's gaze flickered around the room, she caught the worried looks and anxious glances shared among friends and family. This moment could change everything, open old wounds, or lead to healing. "Just know, Jenna," Sarah said softly but firmly, "this won't be easy for either of us. The past is heavy." "I know," Jenna said, taking a step back and nodding. "But I'm here if you want to find that footing together." For a moment, they stood there amidst a crowd still and silent, the future waiting just beyond their choices. Each breath felt monumental, each decision like a fragile thread. And then it hit Sarah, this was more than just about closure. It was the start of a journey, one filled with unknowns and uncomfortable truths. Maybe I'll meet you tomorrow?" she finally said, pulse racing. "Yeah, tomorrow," Jenna echoed, a flicker of hope igniting in her eyes. As Sarah released Liam's hand briefly to turn away, her mind raced. Could she really let this part of her life back in? What if the past was a locked door that should stay sealed? In that moment, as pieces began to shift around her, she realized the biggest question of all lingered still: what revelations awaited them just around the corner, and would the truth be beautiful or devastating? The next day dawned bright and unyielding, sunlight flooding through Sarah's kitchen window. The warmth was a stark contrast to the chill settling in her heart. She busied herself with breakfast, pouring cereal for Liam, but her mind wandered back to the conversation with Jenna. Liam's small voice broke through her thoughts. "Mom, can we go to the park today?" He was bouncing on his chair, eager and carefree. His innocence felt like a bittersweet reminder of everything Sarah was dealing with. "Sure, buddy," she replied, forcing a smile. The park seemed like a good distraction, a place where the noise of life could drown out the echoes of old wounds. After breakfast, they headed out, Liam's laughter ringing like music in the air while Sarah felt weighed down by the past. At the park, vibrant colors surrounded them, kids running wild, parents chatting, and the smell of fresh grass filled the air. It felt like a normal day. Yet, in the back of her mind, Jenna loomed like an unseen shadow. "Look, Mom!" Liam shouted, pointing towards the swings. He dashed off, and Sarah followed, her heart warmed by his joy. Swinging high, he grinned, his laughter infectious. But as she pushed him, her thoughts twisted. Did Jenna really want to mend things? Or was this just an attempt to alleviate her own guilt? Eventually, she found a quiet bench under a shady tree while Liam played with other kids. She pulled out her phone, hesitating. Could she really text Jenna? Maybe just a simple "Are we still on for today?" But part of her hesitated, uncertainty freezing her fingers. Suddenly, her phone vibrated. It was a message from Jenna: "I'm at the cafe near the park. Whenever you're ready." Sarah's heart raced. This was it. The moment of truth. She looked over at Liam, his laughter ringing like a siren call. In that instant, all she could think was how much she wanted to protect him from the potential fallout of this meeting. What if Jenna hurt him too? Yet, she had promised. "Okay, let us go see her," she said aloud, gathering her courage. Liam ran back, and his big blue eyes shone with excitement. "Are we going to meet Jenna?" he asked, bouncing on his heels. "Yes, we are," she nodded, forcing herself to smile. Inside, a storm brewed, pushing her thoughts into overdrive. At the cafe, the atmosphere buzzed with the sounds of clinking cups and conversations. Sarah spotted Jenna sitting at a corner table, wringing her hands, her face a canvas of anxiety and anticipation. When Sarah walked in, the recognition in Jenna's eyes was immediate, but instead of standing, she remained seated, as if waiting to be beckoned. Sarah's breath hitched, and every step felt heavier as she approached. "Hey," Jenna finally managed, the weight of years hanging between them. "Hey," Sarah responded, her voice steady but uncertain. The moment was electric, charged with unspoken words. Liam, still innocent and untainted, slid into a chair beside Jenna. "Hi. Are you my mom's friend?" Jenna swallowed hard, blinking rapidly as she focused on Liam. "Yeah, I was, a long time ago." Sarah's heart ached at the reminder of all that was lost. Could they really navigate through this storm together? She sat down, staring at Jenna's trembling hands. "Thank you for coming," Jenna said softly, her voice almost breaking. "I know this is difficult." "I don't know how to do this," Sarah replied honestly. "I'm scared." "Me too," Jenna admitted, her eyes glistening. "But if we don't try, we won't know. I just want to make things right." Time slipped away as they shared moments, revealing layers of hurt, regret, and a sliver of hope. Yet, just as emotions began to unravel, a figure approached. Sarah's heart sank when she recognized Rebecca, her cautious friend, with a worried expression. "What is going on?" Rebecca's voice sliced through the moment, concern etched on her face. Sarah felt two emotions collide, anger that her moment was interrupted and gratefulness that Rebecca cared so deeply. But the questions that loomed now were heavier than before. Could Sarah truly rebuild trust? What would Rebecca think? And would Jenna remain steadfast when the challenges of the past surfaced once again? Just as the tension thickened, Sarah knew there would be no easy answers. The real questions were just beginning. Sarah sat in the cafe, uncertainty twisting like a vine in her chest. The meeting with Jenna had the potential to tilt her world off its axis. She glanced at Liam, engrossed and joyful, drawing doodles on the napkin. His innocence was a bittersweet reminder of how much was at stake. As Jenna and Rebecca exchanged wary glances, the awkwardness rippled through the air. Sarah drew a breath, the heavy atmosphere coiling around her. "Let us address the elephant in the room," she said, finally finding her voice. "We all have a history that isn't pretty." Rebecca frowned, her protective instincts flaring. "Sarah, I just want you to remember that you're not alone in this. I've watched Liam thrive with you back in his life. But letting past friendships return can unravel progress." "I know, and I appreciate that you care," Sarah replied, maintaining eye contact with Rebecca. "But it feels like when you hold on to the past too tightly, it pulls you down instead of lifting you up. I need to be willing to trust again, for him." Liam, oblivious to the tension simmering around him, suddenly piped up, "Can we get ice cream now?" His innocent request broke the heaviness, and soft laughter echoed through the cafe. "Not yet, buddy. We're talking about some serious stuff," Sarah said gently, but warmth bubbled in her chest. He was the anchor in this evolving storm. Jenna's eyes shimmered with gratitude as she leaned in. "I don't want to erase what happened, but I want to make things right. That's why I'm here." Her voice trembled with sincerity. "I hurt you, Sarah, and I can see how it affected your relationship with Liam. I want to support you, not undermine you." Rebecca folded her arms, her skepticism clear but softened by understanding. "And how do you plan to do that? Trust takes time to rebuild, and breaking it is too easy." "I'm willing to put in the work," Jenna replied firmly. "It's not going to happen overnight, but I want to be a trusted part of this journey with you both." "For Liam." Sarah sensed the tension, but alongside it flowed a powerful undercurrent of possibility. She felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. "Maybe we can all set some ground rules. Boundaries that allow us to co-parent Liam in a healthy way. Just as the conversation began to tip toward a solution, the door swung open with a familiar sound, and in walked a figure that made Sarah's heart leap into her throat. It was Matthew, a steady presence she'd begun to rely on. "Hey, I thought I'd find you here," he called, striding toward their table, his smile fading as he noticed the mood. "What is going on?" "Just sorting things out," Sarah said, mustering her courage. "You came at the right moment." "Good, because the right moment is key." Matthew's voice boomed with warmth. "You fought hard to reclaim your life and your son. Don't back down now." Rebecca nodded, her defenses lowering momentarily. "We are just trying to figure how Jenna fits into this." Matthew's brows knitted together. "And how do you want to fit in, Jenna? This isn't about self-justification." "I'm not looking for forgiveness, I'm fighting for a chance," Jenna said earnestly. "For me, for Sarah and for Liam. We all need to be stronger together." Liam looked up with wide eyes. "Can we all be friends? Like, all together?" His hopeful innocence pierced through the heaviness like a ray of sunshine. There was a pause, the question hanging sweetly in the air, opening a door to healing possibilities. Sarah smiled, a genuine warmth radiating as she looked at Liam, then at Jenna, then back at Rebecca. "That could be the start of something beautiful, right? It's scary, but maybe it's worth the leap." "I like that idea," Jenna said, her voice steadying. "Being friends means we're committed to supporting each other, especially for Liam. He deserves that." And slowly, the room shifted. The weight of pain transformed into a shared understanding. Rebecca dropped her arms, giving a small nod. "Okay. If you all truly want to make this work, I'll support you. But let us keep the communication open. Frequent check-ins might help." "Definitely," Sarah agreed, feeling the weight lift from between them. "Let us start fresh, together. I want to show Liam a happy home, and I'll need all of your help. It won't be easy, but we can do it." "Yes. Ice cream to celebrate," Liam exclaimed, leaping into their new chapter with glee. As laughter filled the cafe, Sarah realized a new journey had just begun. It was uncharted, layered with uncertainties, but the threads of hope wove themselves more tightly. Together, they would take baby steps toward healing and connection. After a moment of celebration, Sarah felt her phone buzz in her pocket, a reminder that life posed challenges beyond this moment. But she also felt a new purpose to face those challenges, surrounded by a circle of support she never dared to imagine. They would navigate through the complex waters, and together they would break down walls built by the past. Rebuilding wouldn't follow a straight path, but with each shared moment, they could build something beautiful. And as they left the cafe, arm in arm, laughter ringing in the air, Sarah realized she wouldn't just survive this journey, together, they would thrive. So, are you ready to join us on this adventure? Hit that subscribe button immediately so you don't miss our next exclusive story. Leave a like now, it's crucial to feed the algorithm so others can find this journey too. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this transformation. And for goodness sake, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who really need to witness this kind of transformation in their own lives. You need to support this channel. Don't wait not even one more second.